Okay, okay, everyone. I think can we restart our session? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So for those of you who have actually not been able to do the survey, I think that's okay. I think we have enough enough response. Over 60 students have actually responded. I'm not sure whether you can see, the slides here. From your perspective, what have been the key messages in the SDG 2030? Yeah. So I think very good that some of the major issues comes into your mind. You were asked to actually put 5 key messages, right? And no poverty, gender equality, zero hunger, quality education, climate action, and maybe to some extent good health. Yeah. So I think this comes, I think from this, what I can feel that your biggest, at least from the responses that we receive here, quality education, is it about social, or is it about prosperity, or is it about environment? Quality education is about social impact, right? And the same thing also poverty, the same thing with also gender equality, the same thing with zero hunger, yeah? Zero hunger, gender equality, no poverty, quality educations, they are actually all related to social needs, yeah? But then, the climate actions, yeah? No poverty is, it is actually economic activities. Yeah, this is prosperity. Yeah, which is actually very important to us, and to some extent, gender equality also can be considered as prosperity, right? Because so I think probably we can conclude based in our observation that you are. The one that's sticking to your mind is all about opportunity for work, gender equalities, basically prosperity and economic activities, and quality educations and zero hunger. This is a social matters. But I think it seems that we are not. I don't know whether we can conclude this, but the strong impressions of climate action, the environmental disasters. Maybe we don't quite feel it already here, yeah. And this is why we thought that this is we can still live with whatever issues that we have with related environment. If there is a haze, if there is even forest fires, if there are a little bit of flooding, because of the rising in temperature, and so on and so forth. We probably at this moment that we or the students do not really feel this to be a big issue. The bigger issue would be what goes to the stomach, yeah, and what goes to quality education is also partly social, partly economic, because I think you would have an opportunity for betterment or betterment of the economic activities, being paid with a bigger salaries and all. So quality education is actually if there are two components of education. Yeah, when we talk about primary education, we talk about basic needs, yeah, which is actually social, yeah. So everybody has got to have the right to basic educations. But when it comes to higher education, it's more on opportunities, more on potentially improving what we call as improving economic activities of our families and ourselves, right? So these are, up to now, I have actually frozen up to 61 student responses. And we can also check the other, the other one that basically, it seems that many of you, most of you have actually seen and can quite nice. I mean, not very confident, but again, I think you tend to be more comfortable with Michael Green talk on I think we have actually listened to his video last week, yeah. And I think to those who come early also this morning, I played the videos related to what is sustainability by Penn State University. And also some of you who come early also, I have actually played the videos on Bhutan, yeah. But I think this concept of circular economy is relatively new. But I think this sustainable development goal Canada response. I think many of you probably have no opportunity to actually see them. But again, as I said, please go ahead and see them and try to really understand them, because I probably want to say here that next week we are going to have our test number 1, and I think there are 2 key main topics that we will be asking you. One is about ethics, issues related to ethics. Maybe it is an open-ended questions related to ethics applications. And the other topic would be related to, of course, socio-economic issues and also environment, what we consider as this SDG. I think if you can actually explain SDGs and relate them to the daily, activities, economic activities, the, observations. I'm going to give you some exercise as well, basically, so that you can actually be prepared for your test number 1. Because I think test number 1 we will give you a limited time to actually respond. Yeah? So you wouldn't have much time to actually go and find your materials during your test number 1. But I can I'm not going to tell you the question, but I'm just sharing with you that the materials that we are going to ask you about is about these 3 pillars or the concept of sustainability and how these 3 pillars of social, economy, and also environment comes into the picture. Yeah, and it's going to be, hopefully, it's going to be an open-ended questions. So let me just summarize with you about video number 1. And after I do this, I would like you to be able to summarize video number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. Yeah. So basically, I have actually captured, the key messages of sustainability. So the issues and the questions about, sustainability has always been talking about sustainable environment, sustainable development, sustainable products, sustainable business services. Even when there is already a rating on sustainable campus, what they means, yeah. And also even we talk about sustainable business. So the issues on sustainability is actually touching on every aspect of our life, yeah. The environment that we live in, the business that we are actually engaging, even to some extent the campus that we are actually sitting in, yeah? And then also there is a basic definitions. There are many different people have actually captured definitions of sustainability. But from this video we can actually understand that the basic definitions actually having the sustainability is about having the capacity to endure and continue, yeah, to maintain itself, reuse and recycle. So basically, when we talk about resources, we are not going to finish the resources, or if we are actually using the resources, it can be recycled and can be reused. Yeah? So that's a basic concept of sustainability, so that our future generation will be able to enjoy the resources as much as we do today. Yeah? So basically, the videos are further explaining, why sustainability is very important. Basically, there is a need for us to use. I mean, we cannot. We cannot stop from using. Remember that, when the environmentalists start saying that, no forestations, no opening of new land, But as human population grow, there is a need for us to actually use the resources, right? So there is a need for us to actually use the resources. But then it's important to actually try to preserve them and also maintain the availability of the resources, right? So this is why sustainability is also very important. So maintain the availability of resources for the future needs of our people. Yeah? And also and the three main pillars of sustainability, again, as I mentioned earlier, and the video have actually divided them into summarized them into three. When we talk about environment, we talk about conserving the resources, protect the nature, and also reserve wildlife. And wildlife are not now it is already extended into what we call as aqua life. Wildlife, we talk about elephant, tigers, all these one that actually disappearing from our forests, but the one that is actually also disappearing from our oceans, are also there to be preserved. So what we call also biodiversity loss will also include not necessarily what we have on land, but what we have under the sea or under the lake, in the lake and everything. So aqua life will come into the picture as well. So that's related to environmental. And social, we talk about promoting community. There are so many what we call as marginalized community that is not benefiting and enjoying the prosperity, the benefits, and and the health or educations that we actually currently enjoying now. We take for granted, but there are many communities that is actually not able to do that. Of course, eradications of poverty and also ensure equality. So equality of race, equality of gender, equality of basically equality of human being. And economy is obviously must be financially feasible, long-term, have a long-term effect, and also balance in view. So basically, in short, we talk about environmental degradations and equitability, and also ecosystem. And the transformation, the video talk about, when we talk about sustainability, we talk about transformation between from linear to circular economy. And I would like you to actually have a further reflection later on giving examples of sustainability using circular economy. We will have that assignment after this. And I think the most popular, the most widely quoted definitions of sustainability is basically, I have a reference here, but it is actually said in the video. Meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So this is a very powerful and encompassing. We are not denying. We shouldn't deny our present needs. If we need an area to be developed to fit into our population growth, then we have to open the new area. But of course, we cannot compromise the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. And even access to water resources and everything. And this sustainability concept have what we call as, the keyword here is actually interlocking pillars. Interlocking pillars of sustainability. There is no sustainability without one or the other. So this is what we mean by interlocking pillars, and balancing a full range of perspectives and interests. Meaning to say, we need to be able to address different country, different community have a different perspectives, and they also have a different interest. And this is where the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals have actually come in, by having to consider their perspective, their views, their religious belief, their community belief, and also their interests. But of course, there are what we call as, there are common values and also common interests that has got to be put up on the table and to be prioritized. Of course, coordinated innovations to create a future where all issues related to social environment are also addressed, rather than putting them, in the past, environmentalists were actually almost, going to war with businesses, with big companies, but I think now we are able to put them together, and try to address the concern of groups from environment, the concern of groups economy. What also important is that this fight between business and environment do not affect the need by the society. So I think these videos, number one, by Penn State University, can be summarized by a simple items like this. So I'm just giving you an example of how I understand the videos. Yeah. So if I can move on now, so you see that we have video number 2. Basically, how do you summarize these videos? Yeah, what can you learn from this video, and probably expand them a little bit, from examples. So I wish to have group 1, 5, and 6. 1, 5, and 9. You have been given into a group, right, for aerospace and also civil engineering students. You have your own group now, doing your community project, I think. So I'm not going to, create a new group. I would like, group number 1, group number 5, and group number 9, to submit your reflections. Basically, this is all about reflections from a video. Just maybe a page, yeah, not more than a page of your reflections. Just the way I did in my slides. Yeah? And for video number 3, this country isn't just a carbon neutral. The experiences from Bhutan, and basically the assignment is for group number 2, number 6, and number 10. What the world can learn from the case of Bhutan. So much lesson that the world, and not just the world, maybe we can also focus to Malaysia as well. Yeah? What can Malaysia learn, from Bhutan? Yeah? So this is for group 2, 6, and also group 10. I'm not sure whether there are such a thing as a group 10, but again, just in case. Yeah. And and for video number 4, circular economy. What do you understand about circular economy, and identify a business which can fulfill the the requirement of the circular economy? Yeah. So this is for group 3, 7, and also 11. Okay. And the last video, I think, although this video is about Canada, but I think this group 4, 5, group 4, 8, and also 12 need to put up into what could be Malaysia's response for SDG 2030. Yeah. So please do some discussion within the group, and I do hope that you should be able to submit by this weekend. Yeah. This is already what they call this already. This is just a Monday today. Yeah. I hope by Friday you guys should be able to submit this assignment or this response. Yeah? So everything is okay so far?
Okay, Prof.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Prof.
Okay. So am I right that you guys have groups already, right, for your projects?
Yes, Prof.
Okay, good. So, okay, those are the big agenda, what we call as a big international framework that we have talked about, and moving into what we call as national framework. I would like to go with you about Vision 2020. I'm sure many of you have not been born yet. Am I right? You have not been born yet when Vision 2020 was introduced in 1990. I know my daughter, one of my daughter was born in 1990. She's already 31 years old now. So you guys are still much younger than that, yeah? You're all my daughters and my sons here already. So, when this Vision 2020 was actually developed, it was actually trying to achieve the target for Malaysia by the year 2020. And of course, in year 2021, we again introduced another vision, what we call as a shared prosperity vision. Yeah. So I'm going to go quickly, and I do hope that you have actually also had an opportunity to, understand a little bit before this about Vision 2020. And for students from other countries, again, I'm very sure that your respective country would also have these visions. Yeah, and I think you just need to put this in perspective. And I'm very certain that after I go through this statement of visions, this is just every country would wish also to have this vision. Of course, maybe the way we craft them would be different. Yeah? So the Vision 2020 were addressing the challenge. Remember that those who have actually taken history lessons, how we receive our independence, how the racial riots comes in 1969, how the policies on new economic policy was actually introduced in 1970, and all these changes and transformation for our country and for our nation have actually taken place. Yeah, so this is actually very important for us to be familiar with, so that we understand where we are coming from, and where we are today, and where we want to move ahead as a nation. Yeah. So when the Vision 2020 was actually developed, the country was trying to, of course, this vision was always attributed to Tun Mahathir. So this vision was actually trying to address what he called as 9 challenges. So obviously, the challenges during those time could be different than the challenges that we have today. Although I see that many of them remains the same, and many of them actually remains unresolved. Yeah, but let's just quickly go through. Yeah, the vision that the country has actually put forward in 1990, even before you guys were born. Number 1, actually establishing a united Malaysian nation with a sense of common and shared destiny. Basically, to create what we call as a Bangsa Malaysia. Yeah? So that was the vision. So it is not like, again, now we are saying that we are Malays, we are Chinese, we are Indians, we are Kadazan, we are those. We cannot deny that we are actually coming from those backgrounds. But to be able to see ourselves as a Bangsa Malaysia is also just as important. So far, from the survey that I have actually made, we can see ourselves to be a Bangsa Malaysia from food perspective. Yeah, we always enjoy the same food, and that kind of thing. But there are still much more than that. Yeah, so that was the vision. That was the challenge then, and of course, we will see in each of these challenges later on how well we do. Yeah. And also creating a psychologically liberated, secure, and developed Malaysian society. So we are basically, people with faith, yeah, believe in ourselves. Yeah. So we want to be, country with full of confidence. Yeah. While we are actually comfortable with, diversity, but we have what we call as a unifying faith that we have unity in diversity. So this is a big vision that we actually have. And again, there is a term what we call in Bahasa called Jati Diri, or we are so comfortable with ourselves, our values, our belief, but at the same time, we are comfortable at the same time living with or engaging with people of different faith, different belief, different interests, even to some extent from different states. I know that people from Kelantan may just gather around from Kelantan, people from Malacca gather around from people in Malacca. I know this is for a fact. When we study overseas, even when you guys actually residing in your, which is actually to some extent is good to actually to strengthen your community sense of belonging, but at the same time having the ability to go beyond our own community whenever that is actually necessary is also very, very important. Yeah? And basically to see a bigger agenda and what we call as a what I always call as a true north whenever it comes to issues and all. Yeah? And also fostering a mature democratic society, a practicing form of consensual community-oriented Malaysian democracy. So basically, we are given the democratic right, and people know, how to choose and what to choose, who to choose, and everything. So basically, this was the one of the vision. And the next challenges that establish a fully moral and ethical society whose citizens are strong in religious and spiritual values. Yeah, so we are hoping that the internal. Remember that we talk about moral and ethics. Yeah, so moral actually actually supporting the ethical societies. Yeah. So, and of course, in our case, our moral values actually driven by our beliefs, our culture, and all. Yeah? And establishing a mature, liberal, and tolerant society. Again, I've actually mentioned this that in which nations of all colors and creeds are free to practice. Yeah? And profess their customs, culture. So there is no, and yet feels a sense of belonging to the nations. Yeah? And establishing a scientific and progressive society. So if there is anything, from the 9 challenges, most of them are actually related to social challenges, but these number 6 are related to economic activities, innovations, technologies, and all. Yeah? And the next 3 vision challenges related to caring society, caring culture, and think about others, before our individual needs. Yeah, and having a very sound and resilient family system. Yeah, and also a sense of communities as well, and ensuring an economically just society, which there is a full partnership in economic progress. This is what we call now as shared prosperity. So there is no such thing as one group are actually having all the economic cakes, while the rest are actually not having anything or having very little on their own. So I think this was the challenge now and could still be the challenge even today. Yeah? And again, the last one is establishing a prosperous society with an economy that is fully competitive, dynamic, and also robust. And when Tun Mahathir was asked about this vision, that is actually very, the vision itself was very good. And the goals, this is what we call also as a goals. That was the challenge, and it became a goal that we need to be able to address, right? And no country would disagree with all this. Yeah, of course, these are very ideal. But when he was asked whether we really achieve this, by 2020, and Mahathir then has jokingly said that I will not be around to be blamed should we fail to meet the goals. But I think everybody knows that he is still around, and I think again it is up to us now to go on and learn, get some lesson learned from this Vision 2020. Yeah. So in short, if I can actually summarize the 9 challenges in Vision 2020, I categorize them. I put them in different colors. This color, I don't know what you see. This color, it's like orange to me. There are 5 challenges related to society or social issues. Yeah, establishing Bangsa Malaysia, fostering democratic society, establishing ethical society, establishing a liberal society, and establishing a caring society. And there are 3 related to economic issues. Yeah, creating developed society, meaning to say that economic activities are actually being developed. Economic justice, meaning to say the balance of the shared prosperity. So now the developed society is about creating community with what we call as the buying power. Yeah, is actually big. Yeah. And establishing competitive economy at the country level, we are actually able to be the net exporting country to the global economy. Yeah? Establishing a competitive economy so that, because our own population is not enough to create our own internal economy. Unlike Indonesia, unlike China, unlike United States, or even unlike India, they have a huge population that sometimes their own internal economy can create and generate their own businesses. But our populations are actually very small, and this is what Singapore has done very, very successfully, establishing a very competitive economy that their businesses are actually selling, they are providing services the global over. Yeah? and one actually related to what we call as a scientific society. Maybe if there is a one that is actually can be, narrowly or can be remotely associated to environment, later on. But again, you can see that when we started Vision 2020, the issues, the concern about environment were not there. And I think when people are hungry, I think the main concern is all about, this, communities and also economy. So the question now is that how well do we do as far as these issues, and again, I mentioned earlier that the main emphasis of the visions is economically related and also socially related. I must say that socially related as well. And overall assessment, in the survey poll, only 40%, meaning to say 60%, a big majority of our population believe that we have not achieved Vision 2020. Of course, there are some vision have been achieved, but there are some vision have not been achieved. But overall, many believe that our vision has not been achieved. And there are 4 from the 9 that majority, meaning to say that more than 50% of our population, this survey was actually done sometimes in 2019, towards the end of by the time we are about to achieve or to complete year 2020. So basically, mature and democratic society, economy that is fully competitive, of course, with GDP that we have, there's an evidence that we are doing okay economically. Of course, this has all changed now. If you were to do the survey now, maybe the response would be different because of the pandemic. But this survey was actually done before the COVID. But again, this COVID-19 are also affecting many countries. But I think this is probably more realistic survey to give reflections on how we, the Malaysians, actually, see how do we actually see the implementations of Vision 2020. Establishing a scientific and progressive society, of course, there's a huge change and leap, into us being scientific societies. Establishing numbers of universities, and remember that our university now have gone into global ranking. In the past, even University Malaya did not come into global ranking because of the scientific progress, because of the scientific research. Many universities now are actually into being recognized as a global players, simply because of. So this is just an example of our transformation and achievement of being a scientific and progressive society, and ensure an economically just society. And of course, compared to year 1990, the wealth distributions of the country have actually moved towards the better. Of course, a slightly small majority believe that this is the case, meaning to say that we have not been able to convince big majority, just a simple majority, I must say. So of course, when we talk about one of the earlier target of Vision 2020 was Malaysia was supposed to be the high income nation. Again, this has not been achieved. We are still being trapped into what we call as middle income nation. We have not been able to move into what we call as a middle income nation. Even if our salary have actually increased, but again, as you all know, that the cost of the materials have actually jumped as well. So I think the real increase in income has not come into the picture as well. But again, when we ask about the expectations, and now we are actually moving from Vision 2020 to Shared Prosperity Vision 2030. At least 58% believe that Malaysia will improve. So we are still feeling very confident. Whatever the challenges that we face today, we are facing a lot of uncertainties, political uncertainties, economic uncertainties, health uncertainties, with all these uncertainties, I think sooner or later we need to be able to come out of it as a nation. I think we cannot be sitting down and complaining about why we are not actually moving. Of course, one of the biggest role of engineers would be actually trying to help Malaysia moving towards a better achievement in 2030 based on the shared prosperity vision. Again, the shared prosperity vision has actually covered what SDG is actually said, that when we talk about vision now, we are talking about addressing the social, economy, and also environmental. So environmental needs are also very important. Again, now Malaysia is struggling to fulfill the the requirement for even palm oil being a sustainable product. Given an example, we are being accused of cutting a lot of trees and forests. Okay, so those are the basically a simple assessment. There have not been many assessments that have actually been done. So economic assessment is one thing, but the social assessment is another thing. So we talk about having mature societies, safe societies. So when it comes to the survey, we are still not very comfortable. We are still being very concerned and very afraid of a conflict breaking because of ethnic or minority groups in our country. So Malaysia ranks actually quite high. Of course, South Africa, Turkey, India, United States, Colombia, and Malaysia. Just imagine that Malaysia, rank quite high compared to other countries. You can see. So at least this is what we feel, and on the ground. And meaning to say that we are still having a very fragile, societies that the Vision 2030 was trying to address, but I think we are still not being able to. And in fact, if you look into the overall crime index also, this is just giving the data by states. There is no. Probably I should go into the global benchmark on the crime index. There is, but I think the biggest crime index are actually in Kuala Lumpur, in Selangor, also somehow Negeri Sembilan and Penang. And I think Sabah. Sabah has always been, I don't know, from my personal experience, I always feel extremely comfortable, extremely safe, and extremely welcome in Sabah. So I think this survey, or actually this is not just a survey, this is actually a reported crime index ratios per 100,000 population. So regardless whether we have a big population, it has been normalized into 100,000 population. Sabah, Terengganu, Kelantan, maybe these are the states that you can actually walk without having to worry about people is going to mark you, people is going to disturb you or anything like this. So, but anyway, this is how different states are actually performing in Malaysia. And next, I'm just going to go very quickly. We are close to 9:40. I will stop before 9:50, hopefully. But the other, major issues. Remember that we talk about, SDG. We talk about, health and social well-being. Society well-being and social well-being are also very important. But I think there are huge issues now, especially during this COVID-19. This is before COVID-19, but the COVID-19 have actually resulted in increased mental health and also stress issues, and quite disturbingly, many of these cases are actually happening among the youth. The young employers, employees between 18 to 20, 21 to 25, and again, employees in Malaysia reporting poor and very poor quality of sleep. It is not the old people, but it is the young people. So I think this is we have not done well when it comes to society well-being. Of course, many of these could be related to economic well-being. People are actually concerned about their income, about their, where the next food is going to come from. But it's also related to, culture, related to religion, or, belief or faith that we have. I think this is all very interrelated. But, the crux of the matter is we are facing a quite significant mental health also and stress issues that we have in our country. So, meaning to say, we have not been very successful addressing the social needs, despite our Vision 2020. But when it comes to scientific, assessment, we are doing not too badly compared to the best in the world. But if you, maybe I can move into this diagram now. When it comes to scientific publication, this is challenge number 6. Malaysia have actually produced, initially Malaysia has actually produced a large amount of scientific publication. But I think quite interestingly, I think this is what we have been observing very recently, and this is true from economic perspective, that Indonesia have actually moving very, very fast and surpassing, countries in the Southeast Asia. In fact, they are expected or predicted to be the 4th, economic superpower in the world. If you talk about United States, China, Japan, and they are talking about Indonesia being the 4th, if not the 5th, economic superpower in the world. Maybe pretty soon. You can actually see, quite impressively how they have actually moving towards, addressing food security, and they have actually been able to attract foreign direct investment. I think they have much bigger foreign direct investment. I think now they have actually touched 18 billion compared to Malaysia, where we are not even achieving 3 billion. You can actually check this, comparison between Malaysia and Indonesia. But I think the key point would be that, if Malaysia is not, going back to our own drawing boards and, see the nation, give the nations a priority rather than our personal, agenda, political agendas, and, a lot of skepticism that we have. I think we need to be able to come back and, to see this, nation as one key true north that we all need to be working together. Otherwise, we'll be left much behind. So I will also, this is one of my second last slides. I want you to be able to observe these slides. Industry content. This is about, again, scientific movement. We are having a lot of industries, and the economic planning units study, of course, conducted by other people, but it's 4 economic planning units. How some of these industries actually being categorized into laggards, meaning to say these industries actually leaving behind, and we are imitators, we are adapters, and we are also pace setters. So you can see that the basic needs of the country, agriculture, constructions, which is actually accommodations, textile, and even health services. There's not much innovation going into this. There's not much innovation going, or scientific breakthrough going into agriculture, construction. So, this is again a huge, of course, policymakers is one thing, but ability of our scientists and engineers to come up with innovation to move our laggard industry into, pace setter industry. Of course, our ITs, petrochemical, automobile, financial services, and also food processing are actually, pace settings in our industry. So I think aeronautical or aerospace, composite materials are actually a pace setter, which is actually very good. But many others related to civil, constructions and all have not been doing very well. So there is a challenge now for us to, moving forward. What would be the roles of engineers moving forward? Let me just summarize this very quickly, that we have actually been moving. I think you remember the discussion and the talk by Ricky, that the need for us to continuously to innovate. Now we are actually moving into what we call as a 4th industrial revolution, and how not just engineers, everybody has got to change the way we look at things and the way we design things. So that's the end of my session for today, and I'm having a few minutes, maybe if giving you an opportunity and a chance to ask questions if you have any. Okay, anyone having any questions? I can see that our chat room is actually very quiet and nobody is actually chatting or typing anything.
Doctor, I have a question.
Okay, who is this?
I'm Kishore from the
Kishore.
aerospace department.
Yes, Kishore, yeah.
The assignment, right? I just want to know how are we supposed to do the assignment in a slide or is it in Word document?
No, it is a slide. It can be, my example is only one, but I think some of your cases could be more than one. But don't give me more than 3 pages. Maximum I would accept is 3 pages. Of course, this is excluding your front page or cover page that have your title. You may change the title. You may craft your own title related to the videos that you have, and of course the list of members that you have in your group. And then the second page of your slide would contain of your reflections. So page slide number 2, slide number 3, and slide number 4, and that's all. 2, 3, and 4 maximum. And if you have the 5th slide, it can only be your source of your references. If you are actually referring to other materials, you can actually list down your references. So in the examples that I have here, let me go back to my examples. Yeah. So I'm just because what I plan to do later on, I may not be able to. I don't know whether I can engage people from aerospace. After this, because I have actually requested Professor Rahim, to cover this economic, social, and environmental issues to 3 weeks. Because I think 2 weeks are just enough for us to get a general understanding. But I think to further elaborate and having a discussion, I'm expecting to have the 3rd week, which is actually the 3rd week is about the student having to share your reflections on all these 3 videos. So maybe I will discuss with Professor Rahim, and we will have after Raya, week 8 or week 9, to have a joint session again, and we will be able to share our presentation during those weeks. So in meantime, you just need to prepare your group reflections. Is it okay, Kishore?
Yes, thank you.
And I would probably try to write, the instruction as well. When I share these slides, I would put up a little bit more descriptions or the expectation and how and when to submit. Okay. Oh. Okay. Anyone else have any questions? By the way, please fill up your respective attendance. For civil engineering students, did you guys sign up your attendance last week? Do we have a civil engineering student?
Yes, Prof.
So did you have any problem entering the attendance last week? No?
No, Prof.
Okay, good. So if not, then I would like to end our session. There seems to be no questions, right? I would like to end our session now with thank you to everyone, and have a safe week ahead, and have a good preparation for your test number 1 next week. Yeah. Of course, anything we will update you, inshallah.